Hey, what is up guys, I'm Navio, and today I'm going to be talking about a recent trade, or not even a recent trade, I've seen a couple of articles and just a few rumors about this trade possibly happening, and it kind of died down a lot since then, but I do think it's still possible, especially with the trade deadline being moved up, so it is coming up very, very soon, so I do think this trade could happen. I do think it makes tons of sense, and the trade, by the title, you'll probably already know, but it's going to be Carmelo Anthony being traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and y'all might not think this is going to happen, but if you don't, just let me try to convince you, and without further ado, without me rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to get into is why this trade needs to actually happen. Well, the reason I think this trade needs to happen is because the Thunder have shown that there's just not enough basketball to be going around between one of the most dominant point guards in the league, Russell Westbrook, a pretty good and kind of strong offensive player that's never really played with another star, Paul George, and then one of the most ball-dominant players in the NBA and one of the best shooters in the NBA, Carmelo Anthony. There's just not enough ball to go around between all three of them, and that has definitely shown as the Thunder have started off to an extremely rocky start. They are starting to get it together, but I mean, I just don't think this team, I don't think Carmelo is that person they really need to compete for a championship. I don't think with Melo they will ever be able to win a championship. As a dude, I think he's just going to want to take the game-winning shot when you have Russell Westbrook and Paul George. I just don't think they want Melo shooting that, but I think Melo's going to want the ball in those clutch situations, and that's going to cause problems between the big three. So I do think you're going to need to get rid of him, because I just think he's the way too ball dominant. You obviously can't get rid of Russ, and you also can't get rid of Paul George, because Paul George is kind of that defensive stopper, and on defense we know that they're pretty ass, let's be honest. So you need Paul George for defense, you need Russell Westbrook just because he's one of the best point guards ever, and then Carmelo Anthony, he's kind of just the ball hog shooter that can get you a lot of points and don't really use, and he hasn't been scoring that much, so his purpose kind of isn't really showing that much for them. So I mean, that's I think the reason it really needs to happen. And also, I mean, with Paul George showing extreme interest in going to the Lakers next season in free agency, if say you don't win the finals and Paul George is like, no, I'm gonna walk, because Paul George has came out and he's not been hiding it that he really wants to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. So I mean, would you rather not trade him and get absolutely nothing for Paul George, or would you rather at least be able to trade him for something and, you know, get rid of him? Because there's more likely chance that he's going to probably leave. So I think it just makes more sense before he does leave. But now that I got into why it needs to happen, let's get into what the trade would even look like. Because obviously the Thunder would be trading Carmelo Anthony, but the Cleveland Cavaliers would also have to give up and get something as well. So I think the trade would look like the Thunder would receive Kevin Love, while the Cavaliers would receive Carmelo Anthony and Julius Grant off the bench and a second-round pick. And the reason I just think this would make sense, and I think it is a likely thing to happen, is that, I mean, LeBron has shown that he plays extremely well with other shooters, and with great shooters, should I say, as in Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, the shooting power forward. He just plays better with shooters around him. And yes, Kevin Love has a very nice shot and is considered a really elite shooter, but Carmelo Anthony is literally known for having one of the best shots in the NBA. And I mean, he was an all-time NBA scoring leader in the 2013 season, so the dude can score. So when LeBron James goes into the lane and then passes out, Carmelo Anthony would be the perfect guy for that. And plus, Kevin Love kind of clogs up the lane sometimes, while Melo, he doesn't really mess with the lane much. He'd rather just shoot mid-range, shoot threes and stuff. He's kind of old too, so he's not going to be as athletic clogging up the lane. And you don't want anyone clogging up the lane, because LeBron does most of his work driving in the lane, and obviously he's impossible to stop going in the lane. But if you have your own teammate clogging it up and letting the other team help, that's just even more stuff to stop LeBron and help stop LeBron. But then you also have to look at, they would also be getting Grant, a great defensive player who is kind of showing signs of being the next Andre Roberson. Andre Roberson obviously not having much offense, but they are also very good on defense, as so is Grant. I think Grant is starting to take notes from Robertson, because Grant doesn't do much on offense, and the Cavs don't need that much more offense, as they're already one of the highest offensive teams in the league, but they are one of the lower defensive teams in the league. So you can say they'll be losing some defense getting rid of Kevin Love, but they'll also be gaining lots of defense if they got Grant, and that would also be strengthening their bench that is already pretty freaking strong. Let's be honest. I mean, and they do need help on defense bad, because Isaiah Thomas isn't gonna help you much, and then I mean Carmelo Anthony's not gonna help you much. So with Grant coming off the bench, that would be a pretty good defending bench, and maybe even score you a little bit. I mean, he's just pretty much gonna be your defensive stopper. And also, I mean, they need, like, I mean, I know I just said this a lot, but they need all the help they need on defense. Like, they're terrible on defense. But now that we got into why that makes sense for the Cleveland Cavaliers, let's get into why it would make sense for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, the Thunder would be replacing an extremely ball-dominant player in Carmelo. And yes, Carmelo has taken a little bit of backseat in recent games, but I just don't think that, I mean, that's Carmelo's game, shooting lots of shots and being able to take over games. I think that's just Carmelo's game. So I don't think he's going to be able to stay away from that very, very long. So I do think he'll probably start going back to his mellow ways, especially if they keep losing, as they're now on a 2-game losing streak. So yeah. And then, I mean, they'd be getting rid of that ball-dominant player for a lot less ball-dominant player in Kevin Love. And, like, Kevin Love was ball-dominant in Minnesota, but now he's been playing behind LeBron and Kyrie and now Isaiah Thomas for so long. He probably will know how to play without the ball, off-ball defense, off-ball offense, run without the ball, and then shoot those wide-open shots, or even go in the lane when he really needs to. I think Kevin Love's just a better overall player than Carmelo Anthony as of right now in his career. So, and I mean, also, not having a ball-dominant player helps Russell Westbrook out, as Russell Westbrook has shown that he's way better when the court is spread out and not having to pass to someone, and when he can go back to his MVP form and just take over like he did last year. Russell Westbrook has shown that he plays good without ball-dominant players on his team, and that he can play good with a dominant small forward and a dominant power forward and center, as that is the same exact thing that got him to the finals one year, where they ultimately did lose. I mean, where they got him to the conference finals last year against the Golden State, where they were 1 game away from making the NBA finals, but they did choke a 3-1 lead to the Golden State Warriors, and then let's not bring that back up for all of them. But I mean, with that same exact combination, when they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and the Stash Bros and Enes Kanter and Steven Adams, they were able to make the conference finals, pretty much the NBA finals, if they wouldn't have choked that last game. And Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant wouldn't have had ego issues on who wanted to be the biggest hero of the game. But I mean, then if you take that same experiment, but then trade out a worse power forward, which was Enes Kanter, for way better power forward that is Kevin Love, you keep Steven Adams, and then I mean, you do go down a little bit at small forward with trading Kevin Durant for Paul George. Paul George is not anything to scoff at. So, I mean, and Paul George isn't one of those people that wants to play hero ball at the end. He will let Russell Westbrook take over, and so will Kevin Love. So, I mean, if you let Russell Westbrook take that clutch shot, it's most likely going to go in. So, you'll be going in with the same exact formula that almost got you to the NBA Finals, but with a little bit better of a team. If they would have had that little bit better of a team against the Warriors, they probably would have made it to the Finals. So, I mean, if you give Russell Westbrook the same team, a little bit better, he'll most likely make it to the Finals. He won't choke another 3-1 lead, I can guarantee you that. So yeah, that's unfortunately going to be it for this video. But if you did like the video at any point, hit the like button. If you did agree with me, do you think Kevin Love should get traded to okay, so do you think that you should trade Carmelo Anthony? Do you think this trade will happen? Just comment all that below. And if you did like the video at any point, hit the like button. And if you really like the video, hit the subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. And also, kids, don't think over about you either. Remember, never do vegetables, always do drugs. Stay safe, stay seatbelt. Goodbye.